Hi, this is DS Yaxheimer, and this is another edition of The Spectre, and I'm going to be talking about the latest episode and the final, I guess, appearance on the Walking Dead series of Rick Grimes, which was much talked about this season, I guess, by Walking Dead fans. I'm not even sure how, I know popularity of the show has waned, because it's been on a long time, and it's just inevitable, and there's spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen the show yet and the show still means something to you, don't watch the rest of this video if you happen upon it, and go watch the episode. Overall this show has been in decline probably after the third or fourth season, around where the governor's storyline was, and I sort of watch it out of some sort of habit. I don't even, it's like, oh, Walking Dead's on, I gotta watch it. I make a point to watch it, but it's sort of only because I watched it from the beginning when it was good, and I really liked it. I don't get really excited about the show. I just wanted to see how it ends, and I'm sort of waiting for it to end. And this show, in this episode, at least some of it, elements of it, parts of it, it seemed like this could have been a series finale for The Walking Dead, because Rick Grimes is no longer on the show. Does he die? Oh no, he doesn't die. That'd be too simple. They went into sort of lost territory with this final episode of Rick Grimes. He gets impaled on a piece of rebar and pulls himself off with his belt. It's right on the side of his abdomen, which would have fucked anybody up. I mean, you would die from without modern medical care and all of that within a very short period of time. You die because it's going through your intestines and introducing toxins into your system. Well, this is just But any lay person can tell. You don't have to be in the medical field to know that would just pretty much kill you within a relatively short period of time. Especially if you're in the southern heat, walking for miles, and then, well, he gets on a horse in this episode, and then he goes on and just leads away this horde of zombies. Meanwhile, Maggie is having a conversation, Maggie, who was pissed off at Rick and thinking of kind of overthrowing him or something, or they were implying that at one point. And Michonne, because they didn't kill Negan, because Negan killed Glenn. And anyway, so Maggie talks to Negan, and Negan's just this pathetic, broken down person now. There's just nothing, he wanted to die, but she didn't kill him because it wasn't really out of sympathy or anything. I don't know if it was just more that he was just so pathetic, or it didn't change anything to kill him. I don't know. Maggie already hung somebody. He hung that bastard. I can't think of his name right now, but the Hilltop, the former Hilltop leader, and she took over the Hilltop, and Rick and Michonne were kind of running Alexandria and working with the saviors who were under Negan to build this bridge. And this is integral to the plot of this episode. And it sort of had a cool, I thought was kind of at least a decent ending that I could, yeah, okay, I'm alright with that. Because, you're kind of, through the whole episode, you're waiting for Rick to die, and he will not die. He just keeps going, he's on the horse, he falls off the fucking horse, eventually, and the horse takes off. The horse is like, fuck it, I'm getting out of here. And there's just a huge wave of zombies following Rick, that's been following Rick, and he was leading them away from, I don't know where the fuck he was going, because actually the zombies were getting to the bridge, so he was going home. He was delirious and shit, having flashbacks, of course. I forgot to talk about the flashbacks Rick was having. Oh, a character is leaving a show, and a main character. And this is the he's the. I don't know how. It's not like the show's going on well with him, but without the main protagonist, I don't see how it's really going to work. But I'll get into how I think they're going to try to make it work in a moment after I talk about the flashbacks. Yeah, he has dream flashbacks of Herschel, not Glenn. I guess he was busy. I don't know what that actor has been doing lately. I haven't seen that actor. I can't think of it. I don't know I knew his name, but I can't remember the actor who plays Glenn's name off the top of my head, but I knew it. But he wasn't. There wasn't a flashback to that. But talked to Herschel, and then I forget who else. Oh yeah, Shane. Yeah, the first one he's in the police car with Shane, and they're like old buddies again, you know. And before that, he flashes back to being in the hospital in the beginning, waking up. And you see Rick from, you know, back then when he's getting out of the hospital bed. I mean, some of the scenes were good. I mean, I know I'm coming off as like I'm bashing this whole thing. I'm not. It's a pretty decent episode. And there aren't a lot of... You have to watch like an average of 4 to 5 episodes of The Walking Dead, bad episodes to get to, or mediocre episodes to get to a good one. I mean, otherwise, why would you need a show with like, you know, Chris Hardwick pumping it up and the other actors and writers and producers and whatnot and fans hyping this show up like a fucking Trump rally after every episode. So the show's overall, you know, I mean, it's been in decline, but there are good elements to it. There's good acting, there is some good writing. It's just not put together right. This show was so it's very inconsistent. Like the first 3 seasons were fairly consistent. This is like a zombie sci-fi fantasy series, you know, horror fantasy series, and they adapted it from the comic book, which most people are familiar with, which is pretty cool. I would familiarize yourself with it. I highly recommend it. But when, you know, they sort of took the old elements from the George Romero zombie movies and updated it, contemporized it, and with the comic book and the TV series. The TV series is different than the comic. There are characters that are, you know, Daryl, the guy with the crossbow, is not in the comic book. Nor is his brother Merle, played by the brilliant Michael Rooker, who's an awesome character actor. He's been around a long time. He was in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is a movie I watched recently, which I recommend because it's one of those flicks. They don't really make them quite like that anymore. It's just very, like, blunt. There's no, it's very low budget, but there's a reason why it's sort of kind of a revered horror movie of sorts, kind of an unconventional, like, realistic horror movie. But anyway, getting back to The Walking Dead, which isn't really realistic, because there aren't zombies in real life that we know of. But we're like, this was like a show I could have seen being wrapped up 3 seasons ago. Like, I thought when they were going to wrap it up, it's like, oh, you know, I mean, when they said the final episodes of Rick, yeah, the final episodes of Rick, but the show's going to keep going. And, so then that's what their plan is. I wouldn't bank on the popularity maintaining this level. I mean, it is on, you know, the wane. Like, the hardcore fans will always be there for this show. It's like Star Trek. There's always going to be Star Trek fans. There's always going to be Star Wars fans, or any sort of, you know, comic book, sci-fi related genre or character or comic book character that's popular. There's always a fan base that keeps it alive. But the show is so on, like, life support. I mean, they don't. You've killed off basically several main characters. The only people from the original cast from the first episode, you have Carol, Daryl, Maggie's not from the original, but she's from early on. But that's it. The rest of them are all dead. And you have the infusion of all the new characters. Well, Morgan, yeah, Morgan was there from the beginning, but he's on Fear the Walking Dead, and he hasn't been there the whole time. He sort of just came back a few seasons ago to, you know, revisit what this character's up to. They revisited him a couple times until he came back on a more permanent basis. So, why am I talking about this? So, going into such detail, talking about an episode of The Walking Dead that I didn't think was particularly that good. But it was better than most. You know, you're getting, in the last 3 seasons. So, Rick, after he falls off the horse, just to sum this up, he gets to the bridge that they've been building. And the zombies were going to cross the bridge and get to the other side. And all the while, of course, the gang's looking for Rick. You know, Maggie's made amends with Rick's actions or inaction in not killing Negan. So they're just trying to find him. So like at the moment they're all like, oh, you know, it's like they all love Rick again. You know, Maggie loves Rick. They're all family again coming together. And during Rick's hallucinations and all of that and stuff, everyone was telling him to, you know, well, Herschel told him to get back to his family, but he told him he didn't have to lead anymore. He didn't have to be what he's been. He or just whatever. It's so everything implies that he's dying. You know, he's gonna die. You know, Herschel visits him in a dream, and he's like, or when he's in this delirium from bleeding all day, from being impaled on a piece of rebarb. He gets to the bridge. He's been bleeding. The zombies knock over some crates that are on the bridge where there happens to be just sticks of dynamite, just piles of TNT. Everybody gets there. Michonne gets there, who's Rick's now, you know, I think wife or longtime girlfriend. Daryl, all of them, you know, the cast that's been there the longest, to see him off. And he gets his gun out and shoots the dynamite, and they're all like, no! It blows up. Huge explosion. And Rick's like 50 feet away from these zombies and all this dynamite. So there's no fucking way anybody would survive this. Oh no! He does. He fucking, like, just when you think it's over, you know, there's like 10 more minutes of this episode, and the leader of the heapsters, the trash, the people who lived in the Mad Max garbage dump, whatever, that salvage yard, whatever it was, who turned on Rick before the leader, I can't think of her name right now, because she kind of went away and came back. She's been communicating with some mysterious people on a walkie-talkie she's had, and that she'd been hiding, and she was torturing the priest guy who's blind in one eye. Negan blinded in one eye, or they blinded when he was in that compound. But anyway, she sleeps with the priest, the bald black guy. I can't think of his name either. And then she fucks him over, and she threatens him and holds, you know, has him tied down and has a zombie in his face and then lets him go and all that shit. So at the end, you see her on a walkie-talkie talking to somebody who's arriving in a helicopter, and then she sees Rick just washed up on the, you know, on the embankment of the river there, like fucking D.B. Cooper's money. How the fuck would you... She just happened to come across that. So, and he's intact, basically. I mean, he should be blown to... I mean, he should be dead. But the last thing you see is Rick being medevaced away in a helicopter with tubes in his nose. Like, just like he's like, you know, somebody, somewhere, some enclave of people, they've got it together. They've got sort of their technology restored. I mean, if you have a working helicopter, you're doing pretty good in this zombie apocalypse of The Walking Dead. So that's what happened. It was like, it was an interesting episode, but it was still this sort of uneven, clumsy, cobbled together like farewell episode for any character on a typical TV show. And at the end, it became sort of an episode of Lost. And so no, the show, it really, you know, needed to tie up its loose ends a long time ago. It's really, I almost can't watch it anymore after this because it's just so absurd at this point. I just like, do I really want to watch Maggie and Michonne and Daryl sort of anchor this show? Like, not now. Like, I need a break. I'll watch it later when I can binge watch the rest of it after the show's ended. I think I'm just gonna like stop watching The Walking Dead now, and then like a year or so from now or whatever, when I've got like, you know, I don't have anything else to watch, I can like, I'll keep that sort of in reserve, you know, so I don't have to like surf around Netflix and Amazon and Hulu for hours trying to find something to watch then. So I think that's a good plan, because I can't, it's just so fucking ridiculous. It's like, to just, I mean, he blew up. If I could, I wish I had, like, just could play the clip of him shooting the dynamite and exploding. And in the real world, I have to explain, he's not Michael Myers, okay? He can't survive shit like that. He's a human being. No, he's Rick fucking Grimes is what he is. I think that's what it is. He's just this, he's a human being, but he's a little bit more than a human being, because he's the star of this series. He's forever going to be typecast. That's what they're going to know him for forever now, is Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. And he wants to, like, because he wouldn't be leaving this show if it was up to the writers. He wanted to go on and do some other stuff, because this is all he's done. He's sick of rolling around in the dirt and being grimy and, you know, and getting covered in zombie guts for like 10 seasons or so, or however. This has been on since 2011. So yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. Because I wouldn't see any logical reason why the writers would want to eliminate his character at this point and not keep him till the end. I thought the show was going to go in a different direction with Fear the Walking Dead, and those shows were going to kind of merge, and but a lot of the original characters from Fear the Walking Dead got killed. And I liked that show. You know, it was pretty good. Mostly, and it was, yeah, they just left the eldest daughter, you know, she's there, and some of the new characters, and Morgan walked all the way across the country to go meet him, somehow, and ran into him. You fucking search me. You know what it's like to walk across the country with especially like the zombie apocalypse, when all you have is a stick to, like, you know, stab him in the head and fight other people with. It's just crazy. But yeah, the show isn't, I shouldn't look at the show as being realistic. It's like, yeah, sure, he shouldn't have survived that explosion, but it just seemed like a more, like, let him go out like a cowboy, and then just have a season of like another season or two of them, like, limping along with, you know, Maggie and Daryl and Carol running the show, and King Ezekiel, I guess. So yeah, they it wasn't a satisfying episode overall, and it's sort of just everything that's kind of it's everything that's good about the show, but it's so much of what's problematic about it is the show overall has been slow. It just doesn't move along. It spends too much time on B characters when they're gonna off them, and the people who you want more of a backstory on, they really don't. Negan was supposed to sort of breathe new life into the show and liven things the fuck up, and he was barely in it. He was more of like, you know, I mean, Negan was in how many, like a handful of episodes a season while he was in power, so like, you know, and he was cool a few times on it when he came on, but when he came on, he bashed Glenn in the head and Abraham, smashed their heads in, and just, you know, like, showed up like a crazy dictator, and then, like, you don't really see him that much. And he has, like, you know, some swarmy monologues about, you know, power and all this shit, and he's just like, you know, it's all just a joke, Rick, you know, or whatever. But, yeah, you think you're in charge, you know, and now he's a weak, pathetic guy sitting in a cell. And even though I've stopped, I'm not gonna fucking watch this show anymore, and here's why. I need a break. Little Judith, they do a little time leap, several years at least. She's got to be 7 or 8. You know, she's got the Rick Cowboy Sheriff hat on and the fucking gun holstered, and I think she's leading it now. And I wouldn't put it past them to do something that silly. They'll just put like Judith Grimes in charge, and she even introduces herself to like some new people she sees in the woods or something in the preview. It's like, I'm Judith Grimes, like I'm big badass, you know, and it was just fucking silly. If you go back and you watch like the first couple seasons of The Walking Dead and then you watch an episode now, you know the difference. And that's sort of what I'm getting at. It just doesn't, it loses its ability to build any sort of suspense, especially at this point, because they're sort of trying to rebuild society, and every villain they usually they usually defeat, so it's kind of predictable. It would have been more interesting if Negan really fucked him over for a while. And I think in the comic book is a lot darker. And it's just what happens when you adapt something, especially for network television. In the show, I mean, it's very gory and violent, and I'm not saying it needs to be gory or anything like that, but I think the characters themselves are much darker in the comic book. But anyway, that's my take on the latest episode of The Walking Dead, the final episode of Rick Grimes. I'd love to hear your comments below, what your thoughts are on it. I'm not going to watch it. I'm probably going to renege on this later and say, yeah, I've started watching it because I'm curious of what the kid's going to do. But it's just so silly. I mean, that was definitely, like, there should have been a little animation of, like, Fonzie jumping the shark at the bottom of the screen at that point when it's bad. Well, anyway, this has been another edition of The Spectre. Subscribe if you like. If you have any comment, if you don't have any comments, leave them below. I hope you had a happy Halloween. I'm still sort of in the mode of doing videos about like horror shows and movies. That's mostly what I kind of talk about here. That's sort of what the general theme of this channel is. I've been trying to develop it over past couple of years. And I've been on YouTube for 10 years, but I don't really, it was more just kind of blog videos and things like that, which is basically what this is. So anyway, this has been another edition of The Spectre. Thanks for watching.